Travis Wingate, so this is only for ex-Mormons. Mormons can feel safe and confident that ex-Mormons have got their back. Church is true because ex-Mormons are defending the lie. So, bye-bye Mormons. Go have fun with your delusions. Ex-Mormons, let's go over church history with you briefly. When the Book of Mormon came out, there was Mormonism Unveiled. That was a direct consequence of it. It was a little township. I was interviewed by the guy who's the author, who told him that the Book of Mormon came from Solomon Spaulding's manuscript. And yet, despite that, the church still exists to this day through Brigham Young. And with the succession crisis, who benefited the most from that? You see, investigators of a crime have to follow the money. And so they need to find out who's benefiting the most. And so if a man dies, well, they check to see if the wife benefits financially through the insurance. That's protocol. They have to do it. Whether she's the one who did it or not, they have to investigate it. They need to find out who's benefiting. That's why they ask questions. Does your husband have any enemies? Is there anything in his behavior that has changed recently? They need to find out who the murderer is, if indeed it was a murderer, according to the coroner's report. And so who benefited from the assassination of Joseph and Hiram? Was it the mob? Was it just, a group of people upset, so they just went and murdered them? And then went on their way as if nothing happened. Had their day in court, found to be acquitted. Oh, wait a minute, acquitted? Huh. You mean they weren't guilty? Huh. That's strange. Who did it then? Exactly. Who benefited? The actual murderers have never been brought to justice. Are you aware of that? Or are you just letting the church get away with it? Uh-oh, spoiler alert. Yes. Who were the ones in the room when Hiram was murdered? And when Joseph was murdered as he went over his dead brother's body to mourn? John Taylor, Willard Richards. Who were they? Brigham Young's 12. Who benefited? Willard Richards was made a counselor to Brigham Young's new administration. New administration. You've assumed that the current church administration was the same that Joseph Smith had. And so you miss it. And as a result, the church has been able to reign supreme with their trillions of dollars and their atrocities of racism, sexism, bigotry, and all hatreds. As you guys think that, well, Joseph Smith is the origin and the core. If we can destroy him in the Book of Mormon, which is the keystone, the Book of Mormon is not the keystone of Brigham Young. That's where they fooled you. Are you guys familiar with the tactics of bullies and abusers? I've gone over it with you in numerous videos. they name call. That's their first step. As kids, aha, 4 eyes, 4 eyes. They keep repeating the name calling over and over and over again. And then the victims of these bullies are taught by their parents and school teachers, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, if that really is the case, the bullies will escalate if they're not held to account by the teacher or parent, and they will start to get physical and violent. It's called retaliation. You stood up to them, you are not conforming and complying to their name calling, and so now they've escalated to retaliation with physical violence. If you do conform and comply, you've got a lifetime of torture ahead of you. Continuous name calling for the rest of your life. If you decide you want to embrace it. You're all familiar with LGBTQIAPO+. Yeah, they embraced the name calling. They took upon themselves the designation of the name calling. And they think that they can control the narrative by saying, nope, you must call us this. There's an Olympian who had announced they're queer. And they want everybody to accept them as queer. Now, why would they have to say that? Well, it's because they've been bullied with the name. And they've chosen to accept it. And now they're demanding everybody accept it and leave them alone and stop bullying them. But what's happened? Are the bullies stopping? No, because the person has to keep coming out and saying, leave me alone, accept me for who I am. What has our government done to those who have accepted those labels? Oh, right. They're taking away your rights, aren't they? With laws springing up all over the nation. Not just for voting rights for blacks, which again, same process. You've accepted your label, and now the bullies are retaliating and making it worse and punishing you because you've accepted it. You've self-fulfilled their prophecy of evil. This is what you've done with the church. You've accepted that the church is the true church of God, the true successor of Joseph Smith. And you've incorrectly thought that by destroying the reputation and name of Joseph Smith, that you would destroy the church. And how is that working? Well, yeah, 11 to 13 million Mormons have left activity, which is good. We still have the hardcore remaining. Have you paid attention to what you are getting emotionally upset about with Joseph? How did you find out about all these things about Joseph? Who told you? Again, when you're investigating a crime, you ask witnesses. What happened? The witnesses will vary in their reports. Each person sees things differently. So it's difficult to rely on witnesses. Both John Taylor and Willard Richards didn't even get together to work out their story. They both contradicted each other. They didn't even go to court. Which is strange. Why wouldn't they be in court? They would be witnesses, right? So you see that Joseph Smith is being accused of the most severe crimes, and that emotionally triggers you. You know, I did the video talking about ex-Molex. You know, raping little girls is horrifying. But is it true? Just because the accusation has been thrown out, there has been no justice system to establish and confirm it. And yes, if that's your intention, thinking that this church will be destroyed by destroying Joseph Smith and his reputation, showing that the Book of Mormon is not a history, that's obviously what you want to do. But you're helping the church. What do bullies do? Is Joseph a victim of bullying? Who actually caused the crimes for which Joseph was constantly getting put in jail for? And who benefited during all those times? Brigham Young was benefiting. He was taking over the church. When Joseph Smith gets arrested, it was Brigham Young. Oh, come on, guys. America, unjust. Death to America. We're being persecuted for our religion. Follow me. I will lead you. And so when Joseph Smith is finally needing to be assassinated, because he just won't go away, so that someone else can take over, now someone takes over. But are you familiar with the succession crisis? Of course you are. Nobody followed true succession. The courts of the United States have determined that Joseph Smith III is the true successor of his father. But they lost the Temple Lot. That was the lawsuit. The Temple Lot case. The judge determined that Joseph Smith's reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which he named after Brigham Young, Sidney Rigdon kept the name of the original church that Joseph had for it, Church of Christ. Judge said, you're the true successor, but they're the owners of the land, the Temple Lot. And so Brigham Young and his group, with John Taylor, who benefited. And so who wrote the memorial for Joseph? John Taylor. Do you see the evil that's going on here? Heber C. Kimball took care of Hiram's wife and kid, Joseph Fielding Smith. Are your eyes beginning to open to the atrocities? Now, when the Richards came back from his England mission, joined Brigham Young's church, because missionary work, Brigham was the mission president. He brought with him his little pamphlet that included the Book of Abraham and the selections from Book of Moses. That was the revision of Sidney Rigdon's that he wanted to do under the Campbellites. It wasn't until 1900 when Bishop Spalding here in Salt Lake City rose up with his Joseph Smith as a translator, showing how Joseph Smith is not a translator. Brigham Young had no interest in the ancient writings. He had no interest in translation. They don't take translator as a title anymore. That died with Joseph Smith. But they thought, oh, okay, well, if it's going to help bring in more people for my slave operation, why not? He just didn't care. He didn't think anybody would ever decipher Egyptian. He's anti-science. He doesn't care. And so it's made into a pearl of great price. And so Solomon Spalding then is aware of it, does his little thing, exposing it. Because by the end of the late 1800s, Egyptian sign lists are coming out. And so then, 1923, I'm sure you've heard by now that the church decided to be Christian. Evangelical Christian, specifically. They reincorporated after the United States shut them down, destroyed the Kingdom of Zion here in Salt Lake. That's what Brigham Young saw himself as, the Christ. And of course, for Christians, that's horrible. Mormons aren't Christian. So yeah, you get the Tanners, and you get the Godmakers movie coming out. Christians all know Mormons are not Christian. What are they doing? Well, why did it take so long to do this Mormons are not Christian campaign? Why weren't they doing it from the beginning? It's because the church did not claim to be Christian until 1923. And it wasn't until after the 50s when they finally got the Sweden Temple outside of Utah that more people are starting to become aware of the church claiming to be Christian. And so yeah, church isn't Christian. We all know this. But again, it was the wrong argument to go up against the church with. The Tanners were collecting documents, but interpreting it with their Christian beliefs as they left the church and formed the Utah Lighthouse Ministry. Wrong argument. Church still remains. And so then you have 67, which was before the Tanners, I think. Tanners were in the 80s, weren't they? But in 67, Metropolitan Museum of Art finds papyri. It seems to match the Joseph Smith facsimiles. And so the deal is made and it's given to Brigham Young, rather than the Community of Christ, which was the reorganized church, rather than Sidney Rigdon's branch-offs. Oh yeah, he has branch-offs too. The church, thanks to Richards, had the Egyptian stuff. But the church are not translators. The prophets are not translators. They don't want translation. They've been doing everything to do away with translation. So in 1981, Spencer W. Kimball comes out with the footnoted version of the Quad. No Apocrypha. Still no retranslation of the Bible, as the rest of Christianity has a better translation now. The church is the only ones who are maintaining the worst translation in the world. Are you not seeing what they're doing? It's a bait and switch. It's look over here while we're doing this. You guys are getting all upset with Joseph. Good. Because Brigham Young is our founder. And so what is Nelson doing now? He's restoring Brigham Young. He can't fully do it because there's laws still, even though America has fallen. I just did one yesterday where the church is now grooming the youth for polygamy. Do you think that they're going to wait until a girl is of legal age? No. See, again, that which you falsely accuse in others reveals the same and worse fault in yourself. See, the church agrees with all of you ex-Mormons. Oh yeah, Joseph Smith was inspired by God to have eternal marriage with those little girls. That's how they see it, so that they can justify doing it in the future. This is worse than Brigham Young. Because under Brigham Young, when he extorted women, because women were property, women didn't have rights back in the early 80s, or 1800s. You know, the suffrage movement and then the civil rights movement with the amendment, and women still aren't full human in society. They still don't have full rights in society, as the bullies are kicking up the pace again for women. And so Brigham Young, notice he only married women who were over 40. Women? Do you know what that means? Of course you do. When are your breeding years? Yeah, once you start getting into the 40s, your time is running out. But, are you aware of Regent Street? Called Commerce Avenue? Yeah. Are you aware of Brigham Young going around on his mission? Going into the rooms of married women, as the children reported that he would come out an hour later. Daddy was away. See, on the surface, he pretended to be the good guy. Oh, I'm taking care of these women who only have 1 or 2 kids left in them. But behind the scenes, he was constantly having sex. He needed lots of sex. His actual wives kept divorcing him. So yeah, the brothel there on Regent Street was frequented once it was built. And so you've fallen victim to what is known as a psychological manipulation trap. Psychologists, which I call psychos for a specific reason. It's not for name calling, it's what they do. It's who they are. They just don't want to call themselves that because that doesn't sound good, that doesn't get them customers, that doesn't give them money for their career. To bully people. That's what psychos are. They name call. Stanley Smith Stevens, Mormon, was the one who set this order up. It's been used for millennia but it was Stanley Smith Stevens who put it down on paper into an organized form. You first name call, which they call categorization. There are dichotomous and non-dichotomous name calling. Now, it was in science. This is where he stole it from. But you can't use scientific classifications into human behavior classifications. This is where the false equivalency occurs. This is where psychos go way wrong and are helping the church as well as others, such as MAGA, other bullies. These guys are bullies because they're name calling. You know, as little kids, my peers would constantly use the name calling retarded for everything. That came from psychos. You know, the movie Psycho. Again, name calling. It refers to somebody who's psychotic. No, he's criminal if he's guilty. Part 2 was awesome and is not given enough credit because it left open the possibility that Norman may have been innocent the whole time and was a victim of his mother through his aunt. But the fourth one ruined the whole thing. It was him that confessed to having done it. So, but they had a good thing going there. To have people gaslight somebody to the point where they think they're the murderers. That would have been awesome. And even if they have it so that his gaslighting finally gets him to act on it, just like bullies. They name call and they get you to believe that you are that, and thus you become it. You accept it. And yeah, same concept. But psychos repeat it over and over again. Oh, you're mentally ill. You need our help. It's a trap. I've warned you about John DeLynn, who is your leader now. He controls you. He's brainwashed you. Because what does he do? He keeps repeating the name calling of Joseph Smith. He'll talk about the current church, but in the context of Joseph Smith. You know, oh, the Oaks came out and said something against gays. And he gets an emotional reaction from you. That's the key to brainwashing, is getting you emotionally invested. It's horrible, little girls. It's horrible to ban gays from the church, to excommunicate them. It's horrible that the psycho was excommunicated because she told Mormons that it's okay to masturbate. How dare she? Get out of our church. And then John DeLynn, oh, it's horrible, the church is mean. They're trying to trigger you emotionally. You know, that's a MAGA thing. Trigger. They know. And yet the deep state Dems keep falling for their triggers. We're outraged. They crossed another line. So we're creating another line for them to cross that we're going to be outraged about. That's the trap. See, while the MAGAs keep triggering, they're doing stuff behind the scenes. Right now, Trump still thinks August 13th, thanks to the My Pillow guy who gave us the date. Trump's now meeting with a cabinet. He's not president. What's he doing with the cabinet? Oh, right. He still thinks he's going to become the president on August 13th. He may get it. Unfortunately, none of MAGA know how to commit warfare effectively. You know, January 6th, yeah, it was sort of handed to them. Officials were pulled off from the Capitol to allow that. So only the Capitol Police and those who were in the area were able to defend it. And they didn't even go all the way. You know, give someone an inch, they take you a mile. They didn't go the mile. They may have gone afoot. And so with John Dehlin, yes, he interviews lots and lots of people. He asks for donations so that he can interview these people. Exmo Lex, Self on the Shelf, the psycho who was excommunicated recently, some others. He keeps doing videos. But what does he do? He gets them to talk about their feelings, to trigger in you, the viewer, and he got lots of views, don't he? To get emotionally reactive to it. See, that's why it would be awesome if YouTube would just back off and let me do my shock titles. Nelson rapes a little girl. News at 11. And then the video, I don't see anywhere where Nelson raped a little girl. You tricked me. This is clickbait. It's an idiom. You're supposed to understand from the context that concept. But yeah, there's some stuff coming that's real scary and will be the actual titles. You know, grooming for polygamy. It's legitimate. It's not for shock value so I can get views. I'm hoping to not trigger you emotionally to come to my channel. Because I'm still pissed that the majority of my subscribers, and you see there are hundreds on both channels, but then look at my views. Where are those subscribers? I did have to delete one yesterday, or was it the day before? For some reason, he thought I was protecting and defending the church. He came out and said, why are you attacking the church? Leave us alone. You're a subscriber, dude. Have you not been watching my videos? But these subscribers have been my subscribers, except for Travis Wayne Goodsell. The coronavirus started with TWG. So I have to give Travis Wayne Goodsell subscribers some slack so that they weren't hearing the message to stay home. See, again, all the misinformation and disinformation has resulted in what I warned you about way back when, in the beginning, last year. I knew this was going to happen, and nobody listened to me, so it happened. And my TWG subscribers, for the most part, are dead. They thought I was just trying to do triggers about Joseph Smith and how wrong he was. Constantly got comments, yeah, that Joseph was evil, and I'd have to delete their comment. They did not listen. They did not understand. They thought that my channel was just a place for them to show that Joseph Smith is the bad guy in all this, that he wasn't set up and framed by Brigham Young. And I've gone over with you guys. There's an inverted pentagram on the keystone. That's this church's keystone, not the Book of Mormon. trash talk the Book of Mormon all you want, you're not going to destroy this church. See, they call it a purge of the impure Mormons. All of you who have left the church and left activity, you've been purged because you're unworthy. You're impure. That's how they see it. And so the hardcore Mormons are hardcore because they think they're better than us. They're more righteous. And they got a surprise coming. Hey, you've got daughters. Welcome. And so don't get fooled by these psychos. And you're not going to listen to me. This video will be just like all the others, getting a few views. Because ex-Mormons are just like Mormons. When you say, hey guys, cut it out, you get all full of pride. How dare you? We're in the right. Joseph Smith is the bad guy. You don't believe me. You know, I'm not a celebrity like John DeLynn. Although I'm actually more of a celebrity if you actually listen to my videos about my life here in Utah, especially. You do not know. No man knows my history. There's a reason why the prophets are paying attention to my videos and are not letting you know they are. There's a reason why they're communicating with me through their website, through Facebook. See, they're doing the shiny keys thing, but the prophets and I know we got a thing going on here, duking it out. And my videos that talk about women exposing the church and vindicating Joseph, that's their trigger. They're uncomfortable when I expose their sexism, their sex slavery. Because on TWG, I was shut down for 2 weeks. That's why I'm now on Travis Wayne Goodsell again. It's because I did the video exposing the sex slavery still in the church in the sealing text. The marriage sealing text still has slavery in it. Women are slaves to their husbands. That's why the law of obedience was to the husband. And I got shut down for 2 weeks for that. Then I did another one exposing oaks. Women will never have priesthood office. Wow, look at this. The March 17th 1842 talk by Joseph Smith, Organizing the Relief Society. Oh, the pattern of the priesthood, deacons and teachers, etc. offices. My thumbnail on the succeeding video was taken down, and I had to throw in the religious bigotry card and the Supreme Court ruling number 3 on the questionnaire. And it's back. Do not see the pattern, Mormons. The church is pissed with me. And you guys are all fooling around with Joseph when the big headline news is right here on this channel. The church is pissed. don't fall for these tricks. You know, all the R-rated movies. Maybe you were good kids back then, so that you didn't see those R-rated movies, where they were all trashing psychos. So you missed it. See, all the great secrets are in R-rated movies. You can expose the church through R-rated movies, not just The Godfather. So, I'm trying to get through to people despite the impenetrable wall that the church has forced YouTube to do to me. It's not just that my followers are dead, my subscribers, whatever they're called. You know, it's a combination. They weren't listening to me, and the church doesn't want you to listen to me, because I'm telling you the truth. I'm exposing the truth. And yes, all of the evidence that's come out, not about the hearsay, but the documents that Joseph Smith was arrested for being a glass looker. Yeah, we got the document. I can't deny that. But again, what was really going on? The Doctrine and Covenants, we all know it's coded. They claim they decoded it in 1981 for the triple. They missed some. I've been going over that in my videos. Well, if they've missed some, and the Doctrine and Covenants is encoded in the first place, is there anything else that may have been encoded? What about the first vision? Is it possible that a supernatural being appeared to Joseph in reality, in the flesh? No, doctrinally it's incorrect, as well as scientifically it's incorrect. Defies the laws of physics. So is it real? No, it's not real. So what then is going on with the first vision? What then is going on with Nephi, not Moroni? We all know this, right? Giving plates that don't exist. What is the real meaning? I've been going over all of this for you. And so if the church history of Joseph Smith from 1838 is all coded, the Doctrine and Covenants is coded, guess what? Now you know the Book of Mormon. You know all about Sidney Rigdon being the major author. I've been helping you make the connections that yes, Joseph Smith Sr. had to rewrite the 116 pages. Go back into the Doctrine and Covenants again. That is still coded in sections 3 and 10. Are you sure it's the Lord talking to Joseph? Daddy, no. Yes, the Book of Mormon 2 is encoded. There's a warning message. And Joseph was murdered for it. You'd think we would show him a little bit of respect. Mormons aren't. And ex-Mormons aren't. Because what the church is doing, as they're doing subtly, as I'm the only one reporting it, the church controls the press. The press are not allowed to investigate the church. When they say, our investigation of the church, no, the church already gave them the information to report on. They're lying to you. especially when it comes from Mr. State Counselor on Fox 13 News Utah in the evenings. And so, yes, you should be very concerned when bishops are talking about sexually explicit things with little children. They're coming back to that. They're pissed with the bishop who they had to excommunicate because he complained. He's a snowflake. How dare he want to protect little kids? There was a big movement to protect little kids, and he was able to successfully get the church to change. But he didn't destroy the church. And because he didn't do that, the church is going to come right back again and redo it. But they've got to get things set for that to be done, because it's illegal currently. So what needs to be done so that the church can again practice polygamy and go after 14-year-old girls, if not younger, etc. To ban blacks, to bring in the white Russians as the lost tribes of Israel. They've destroyed the city of Enoch that has returned. If you saw that video. There is danger alert, and it's so frustrating that I'm being silenced. And you ex-Mormons are a part of this silencing, because I'm the channel you want to listen to, because you go to Zelf on the Shelf and John Dehlin and Ex-Molex and Thinker of Thoughts and even Nemo. Nemo doesn't realize he's setting himself up for failure. You can't be a Mormon and criticize the church, Nemo. Didn't you learn that from your buddy pal who got excommunicated recently? And so, we need a concerted effort to go after the church for what counts. Idiom speaking, etymologically, whatever the word would be, we would need to go for the jugular. And I'm doing it. But because you guys are not getting the message, because you're upset or offended from something I've said in my videos, you know, like Constantine created Christianity. Again, that's Christian church origin history. It can't be denied, it has to be accepted. Just like Mormon origins. There's code involved. You got to decode it to find out what was really going on. And so, yes, the current church says it was Jesus who told Joseph Smith that the Nicene Creed is an abomination in his sight. What is the Nicene Creed? Oh, Jesus is now a historical character. As a supernatural being. It's just hilarious what Joseph Smith was doing. And you guys are offended instead. Because you're too busy with the distractions. By the church, and by the psychos, and by the Christians. Nobody is attacking the church correctly. Go after them for their crimes. Because they're committing crimes. They need to be shut down again. Because they never stopped committing crimes. But they're using the shield of religion. And it's working. Because they're eventually going to come out and deny all things Joseph. And say Brigham Young. Joseph will just be, oh yeah, Joseph tried, but he failed. He was a weak and insufficient leader, but he started the church, so we revere him. We're not going to tell you that he saw Heavenly Father and Jesus, and that Moroni gave him gold treasure plates of what was become the Book of Mormon. No, all gone, because that's not real. Brigham Young is real. Brigham Young was the true inspired man of God who led the Mormons to victory in Utah. And so hand over your daughters. That's the real danger, guys. And you don't see it. I see it. So, alrighty. This should have been the Wednesday video, but I'm not talking to the prophets in this one. I'm talking to ex-Mormons. I don't know if I'll have a Wednesday video or not. Nothing's inspired yet. I have a number of stuff. I still have all the stuff in the files that I never got to. I need to do a video going over what each of those are, just for my own personal records, so I don't have the little papers in the binder, so that I can have them in a video instead. Saves space.